I will go to stores with my wife, and before I purchase something, I will use my Amazon app to scan the UPC to see how much money I can save to buy it off Amazon. And I will.
Yeah.
I will stand in the store and buy it.
That's funny.
Right. And my wife's like, just get it. I'm like, it saves me 22 cents. She's like, that's stupid. I'm like, it's 22 cents, right? But I do, right? And so it's amazing to think, right, how Amazon, I like your word pivot, how Amazon realized, right, they weren't a bookseller. They were an online seller, right? And you position Amazon next to another company, Sears. Sears' greatest heyday wasn't their brick and mortar stores. It was their catalog store.
Yeah.
Their catalog. And for some reason, Sears took their eye off. If Sears would have pivoted from their catalog to online.
Wow.
Think about the company now.
Yeah, that'd be.
Then you take Walmart. Walmart realized they had to get into the online business, right? And now, right, they have morphed as a company, right, to understand and how they're delivering groceries and curbside pickups. And now they'll deliver to your house, and they have an app that you can order everything online, right? Like the companies that realize, right, that they have to have an evolving strategy will thrive. And it's the same thing with the church.
Well, welcome to our Advancing Leader podcast, where we equip leaders to accelerate the mission of the church. My name is Bevan. I serve as our campus pastor at our DuBois location. So I want to say shout out to DuBois. And I'm here with Chris Trethewey, our lead pastor at Tri-County. And we're going to be in this series of messages, this series of episodes called Our Game Plan. So we've already unpacked 2 of those. We've done the map. We've done the mission. Today, we are on to method. And if you haven't checked out those first 2 episodes, I just want to encourage you to go back and give them a listen. It'll make this whole game plan make a lot more sense. Yep. So I'm just going to give a quick overview again. Map. It's our doctrine that guides and unites. Then we have our mission, which is the unwavering focus on the why of God's church. And then today we have our method, which is the evolving strategy that aligns and accelerates the mission forward. So after that, we'll have mindset. And then lastly, we'll have mandate. And that is the game plan. In a sense, Chris, I know we have a great pithy way of saying this. Why don't you just share with it so we can see how it all connects together?
Yeah, and that's the important part of how it all connects together. And I know you just encourage everyone, if they missed map and mission, they need to listen to it, because all of this goes together. But this is how we say it. The map defines the mission, guides our method, frames our mindset, and clarifies our mandate. And so together, that is the game plan.
Yeah. So before we get into method, I just want to talk about something I know you've been working on for our team development and just for our leadership development, a part of it, accelerating leader. And I know it's a sweet acronym, and it means, so much more than just the word, but it's called FAST, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you just unpack FAST a little bit? We'll go section by section and have a conversation from there.
Yeah. So we want to be a church, an organization that moves fast.
Yeah.
And it's, the Advancing Leader podcast, right? It's about moving forward. And, we believe that the church is the hope of the world, which gets connected to our map, our doctrine, and our mission, our why, right? The church is the hope of the world. It's a gathering of people that are in motion to tell all people about Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And to walk with them on how to love, live, and lead like Jesus loved, lived, and led, and to leave behind a legacy, right? All of this goes together. And so we want to move fast, not haphazard, not reckless, not chaotic, but we want to move fast. Why? Because all of us have one life to live, right? How many times have I said that? You have one life to live. What are you going to do with it, right? I have one life to live. You have one life to live. And I know for me, I want to look at God one day and say, God, I maximized every moment of the one life you gave me to live. I don't know how many years that's going to be, right? Right now, I'm approaching 47 years of life. I'm thankful for 47 years, right? Like, I don't know. My girls think that I'm an old man. So, I have no idea. They've put a countdown timer on me. But we want to be an organization that's fast and nimble and moves, because we realize with passion and courage the mission of God's church. So FAST stands for this. The F is focus. And we want to be focused on our mission. And distractions are everywhere. And we'll probably do a whole podcast on fast.
Yeah.
So this is an overview, but distractions are everywhere. Everything's vying for our attention, vying for our time, vying to take us off our why. And even other churches or other Christ followers want to take us off our why. And so focus is everything. And when everyone is focused together, it helps lead to the A in fast, and that's alignment. And we just want everyone who's leading with us. And it's not just staff. Like, we're not this staff-led church. We're on staff.
Yeah.
But we have an incredible team of leaders across all of our churches that are leading with us. The thing we celebrate all the time, right? We have churches that have launched because of non-staff leaders, right? I think our first church merger, it wasn't a staff thing.
Yeah.
It's a gathering of people that said, we align with your mission and we want to do this together, right? Our second church merger, same storyline. Our Punxsutawney launch was from non-staff people saying, we want a church in Punxsutawney. Our Ridgeway church, a group of people, not staff, right? Like, so many churches get this idea that it's like, well, only staff can make decisions. And we're like, whoa. We want as many people, passionate people leading with us possible. That's why we're launching the Advancing Leader podcast. We want to equip leaders to lead with us, right?
Yeah.
But alignment's key, so that we're all leading and aligned together, and method becomes part of the focus and alignment. The S is synergy. And I wrote this: the interaction of two or more agents or forces, so that their combined effect is greater than the sum of their individual effects, which is the definition of synergy. And we just know, right? The more people focused and aligned together, we get this synergistic, this catalytic movement, which goes into the T of fast. It's training, which is why we're doing the Advancing Leader podcast. The more we can train together, and like the map is like, this is the game plan. And once people understand the game plan, now they understand the thinking behind all the decisions. And so many times people go, they're thinking this. They won't say this out loud usually, but they're like, well, why did you make that decision? And it's just easy. Well, it's our game plan. Our map, right? Which defines a mission, which guides our method, which frames our mindset and clarifies our mandate.
Yeah.
This is why. Now, you can disagree with all of that, but it's not haphazard, right? And so this game plan helps us as an organization, as a leadership team, right, move fast. And we want to move fast because we have the mission, the hope of the world, to tell all people about Jesus and to learn to live their life reflecting Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's that important.
Yeah, I love what you said. Fast doesn't mean reckless. Two different things. We want to move quickly, but we want to do it with clarity. We want to do it with precision.
Yeah.
And I love acronyms, by the way. I just think they're the best. Like, when you can have something that just, hey, fast, and then break it down. So I just want to look a little bit at these again, just to come through. The thing that I look at focus is distractions. I mean, who doesn't have distractions? Yeah. Everybody's distracted by something. Something gets their mind off of productivity or whatever they're working on. So what would be, maybe it's your main distraction, or maybe what do you think is something that is one of the biggest distractions to leaders, maybe within the church or just, in leadership in any context? Yeah,
I think there's a list of main distractions.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pick one. Again, we'll spend a whole podcast on this, or maybe a series of podcasts on this. But I think one is, for leaders, is when someone else's urgent item gets forced into your world, and because it's urgent for them, now you feel like it should be urgent for you, but it's not.
Wow.
Right?
That's good.
And so it's like, for me, focus. One of my main jobs that no one else can do is a weekend message. No one else can do it. 40 some times a year.
Yeah.
All right. And the other times I'm not giving the message, I'm still coaching and guiding the other people are.
Yeah.
No one else can do it. So I know that if I don't shut off my phone and shut off Slack and shut off email and everyone else's urgency will get in the way of the message. And as soon as that, and I've allowed this to happen. I allowed it to happen today once. And then guess what I did? I shut off my phone, right? I took the phone call. I'm like, what are you doing? Right. But everyone else's urgency can't be my urgency.
That is good.
Right. And so what I try to help people understand is, I have my urgent, that's my important list, right? So my important is my urgent list.
Yeah.
And that doesn't devalue your list, right? Bevan, for you, doesn't devalue your list, right? You heard me say 2 weeks ago, hey, if I miss something, let me know.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now, we're in this quarantine. It's an interesting season of life. We shifted all of our method in a powerful way. We'll get into that in a bit, but right, we shifted everything and we're positioned to do that, right? But everything's coming at me. And I just said to the whole team, right? Hey, if I miss something, let me know. It's not because I don't value and I don't care. Right now, I'm trying to keep focused on the things I have to keep focused on, which is the mission vision of the church. This is what we have to do. The second thing, compelling messages online. I got to keep focused on there. And emotionally, I'm not there. Why? Because we're in quarantine, right? All of us emotionally are just frayed, right? This is such an interesting season of life. And then on top of that, all the just added components of how we've shifted our message, our method has taken a lot of time. So a lot on focus, but that I think is one of the biggest dangers for leaders, because everyone else wants their urgent to become your urgent. Yeah. And when you don't respond in the right way, they think it's value. No, it's not value. It's just not my urgent.
Yeah. That's super good. I know even for me, like I've been guilty of it. I'm working on something. Somebody's like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I just want to get that done so I can work on what I'm working on. But, creating that boundary, that's huge. I know we're going to talk about alignment a little bit more, so we can skip over that one for now. But synergy, another great term, something I've learned, going to school for business. Synergy is a term that gets tossed around. And I think it kind of ties in, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you were saying is we want to lead with as many people as possible. Doesn't matter if you're on staff. We just want people that are passionate for the mission that we're going towards. And I think that's where synergy becomes exponential. Like you said, it's the outcome is greater than the sum of the individual parts. If we have, a staff of 18 and then we have 25, 50, whatever the number is, we really have more than just, roughly 75 people leading with us. It's synergy, it's exponential. So anything else, to add on that? Those are just my thoughts.
I think your word exponential is it, right? It's a force multiplier. Yeah. And that's why focus and alignment is so important, right? When you have people focus and aligned with you, it becomes synergistic, right? And that force it's why we see, we're seeing in Ridgeway and Punxsutawney, respectively, these groups of people that are focused with us, they're aligned with us, and now it's becoming a synergistic movement to tell more people about Jesus. And it is. It's a force multiplier that most churches and most organizations miss it, right? Because they're not thinking about that. But when it happens and when you see it, and focus and alignment always leads to synergy. Yeah, always does.
That's awesome. And so the last one, this training, you also say teaching. I think that's just so important on any level within leadership. You think of our staff, we have people that we're learning, and then we're going and we're taking that information and disseminating it further, and we're teaching our teams and we're training our teams, and then our team leaders, they're training their team members and new faces. I just think this is kind of another one of those concepts that it just runs the whole way through. With everything we do. So that's awesome. I love that. Excited to unpack that more as a staff as well. I think it's gonna be really cool. So we'll finally get to the method now that we've unpacked that. And the method again is the evolving strategy that aligns and accelerates the mission forward. So why don't you just give us an overview of method, and then we'll jump into the details of that.
Yeah. So in the part 2 of this game plan series, we talked about mission, which is why. Yeah. And why is so important. And so we always bring people back to why, but our method is the what, right? So the what reflects the why. But in so many times especially in church conversations, so many times the conversation isn't about why or the mission, it becomes about what, right? And there's a whole list of what, right? And people will couch the question in why, right? Yeah. Why do you have chairs, not pews? That's a what question. Yeah. What is seats? That's not why. Why is our mission, right? Yeah. But it's why. Why do you have that style of music, right? Which positions compared to, usually it's hymns, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's usually, why don't you have hymnals and have words on the screen? Why do you not teach from a paper Bible, but on a TV screen, right? So it's why questions, but they're not why.
Yeah, they're masked.
Yeah, their mask is what, right? It's just method, right? We have a flat screen TV. I remember walking into a store. I was living in Las Vegas. The furniture store was called R.C. Wiley. This is 10, 12 years ago. And flat screen TVs had just come out, and they had one. Now I had one of those big box, I don't know if you remember these, but
Yeah, I
the
do.
big box projection TVs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were massive.
So heavy.
Yeah. And when it died, it's like, how do I throw this thing away?
Yeah.
And so I walked into RC Wiley and had heard about these flat screen TVs. Do you know what the price tag was on this flat screen TV?
I'm going to guess, I don't know, 5,000?
Not close. $11,000.
That's insane.
11,000. And this is, I don't know, 10,
That's like
12
a car.
That's exactly what I'm like. Right. And I remember sitting there looking at it, right? Because I'd heard about these things, right? And then looking at the price tag going, who will ever buy them?
Yeah.
Now, Black Friday sales, right?
Yeah,
like
$300.
Right, at Walmart, right? Like, it's just like, what?
Yeah.
And so 11, right? So I always tell people, it's like, yeah, hopefully things will change over time, but method, right, should always reflect the mission, but method should always be changing. And let's just not hold tightly to the mission, but method, we should always just keep loose, right? It's just what we do. It's not why, it's what.
Yeah.
And so many churches get lost in the what and they lose sight of the why.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's so important. I think, something that great organizations, great businesses, great leaders, and, great churches, they're able to pivot. They're able to adjust. They're able to innovate. You talk about being in this quarantine season, something I've heard over and over and over again in blogs and podcasts is, this crisis is an innovation or is a cradle for innovation. That's something Carey Nieuwhof says. It's just, what are you going to do to change what you're going to do? It's going to still reflect the why, but it's got to be different. I think, growing organizations, changing organizations, they're always innovating. They're always doing something different. And that's why, method ties so closely to the mission. So I know that I just want to, talk about one more, concept of that is just, this thought of transformation. Like, how many times did Jesus completely deconstruct what was done historically, what was done in the past, what was done that already worked so that he could build something new? I mean, you think of even in the first century, we talked the book of Acts last time, he brought something completely new. It was different than, the people, the religious leaders would have done in the past. Like, his followers had done something completely new, but he had to kind of deconstruct to reconstruct. So
yeah, there's this phrase that you're tiptoeing into that I used one weekend. The phrase was, we're going to deconstruct what was constructed so we can reconstruct what Jesus intentionally constructed. And it was a mouthful.
Yeah.
And I remember talking with so many people afterwards, but what I unpacked was part of us as a church, our method is so different than most for church people. For non-church people, they have no clue.
Yeah.
But for church people that have been anchored at any length to church, no matter what the denominational or the framework around that church is, they come in with a construct of what church should be. And Tri-County is just different. Now, there's a lot of churches like us, but in our local communities, there's not a lot of churches like us, right? So they come in. And so one of the things we've just started talking about is we want to help deconstruct what was constructed so that we can reconstruct what Jesus intentionally constructed, right? And that really gets back into the mission, right? A gathering of people that are mobilized to go to tell all people about Jesus, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want to be. So with that, it just takes some intentionality, and that's really where method comes in. It's just so different of why we do what we do into the what, right? So the why is Jesus, and probably most people would say the church is about Jesus.
yeah,
But then the next step out of that is like, but how's that reflected? You can say that, but how's that lived out? How's your church organized around that mission, right? And so the method all becomes the what of applying the why to us. And so it just, part of this podcast is actually helping for some people deconstruct and maybe even helping give some language to people of the what of our method that reflects our why.
yeah. All right. So method is the evolving strategy that aligns and accelerates the mission forward. So I want to take this phrasing in reverse. And so I want to start with acceleration. What does it take to accelerate the mission?
Well, that's why FAST is so important, right? That's why focus, alignment, synergy, and training, right? All of that becomes that because we want to be a church, right? That when everyone comes in, they understand that we all, right, are pulling on the same rope, which is alignment, but we are moving at a great speed. I think about the last, 3.5 years, we've launched 5 campuses.
Yeah.
And it's not about the number 5, right? But it's about being a church that goes, we know our map, we know our mission, and our method is nothing new. It's what Paul did. It's book of Acts, right? It's about launching churches. And we want to launch churches, again, back to that reckless. We don't want to be reckless. We don't want to be haphazard. We don't want to, right? But we want to launch churches as quickly as we can in local communities because the church is the hope of the world.
Yeah.
Right? We want to do that. And so that part of acceleration is the more people understand the map, the mission, and the method. Now they're all pulling on the same rope with us, and that just gets into synergy. Now, right, we just start moving faster, and that's why the Advancing Leader podcast is called the Advancing Leader podcast.
Yeah.
We want to be a church, a gathering of people that's committed to telling all people about Jesus.
Yeah, I love that. I love that language, and I think accelerating in a leadership context, and even with churches, how many people are waiting to have all the information, waiting for the perfect situation until they start to accelerate. I think part of accelerating is just doing. I know you and I have had this conversation with multiple things. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start doing something, and then from there, it'll shape, it'll grow, it'll change, and it'll become what it's going to become. But I just think that thought, along with accelerating, our mission is you just got to start doing something.
Yeah, like so many people wait. And again, this is not a church issue. This is just a leadership organization, business, church issue.
Yeah.
So many people wait to get all the information for everything to be perfect. And really underneath that, they're just scared of failure. They're scared of it not working. They're scared of it not working and what that would say about them.
Yeah.
Our culture is different. We're gonna try it. If it fails, well, we're going to learn and go, let's do it better next time, right?
Yeah.
It can only go up from there.
Yeah, or maybe let's not do that again.
Yeah, like ever.
Yeah.
Which is fine, right? And so it's the analogy of a wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow, if it's completely loaded and it's sitting still and you try to turn left or right with it sitting or with it being still, it will dump over. Mm-hmm. The only way you can steer a wheelbarrow is to get it moving.
Wow. Yeah.
Some direction, right?
Yeah.
And once it starts moving, now you can steer it. So we just want to be that organization. It's like we know we're moving, right? And we're going to tell all people about Jesus, right? The what is steering, but the why is going to keep us moving. And so we're just going to keep moving along the way. Hopefully we won't run the wheelbarrow off the side of the cliff.
Or dump it.
Yeah. But if we dump it, we'll stop. I mean, I think that's a failure. We'll stop and we'll put all the pieces back up and let's just keep going again.
Okay, so accelerate. Then alignment, I think, is a huge piece, especially, Tri-County Church being a multi-site church. We have a lot of great leaders with a lot of great ideas, but alignment is huge to what we do. It's huge for our mission, but also our method. So why don't you just talk about alignment, maybe what that means in our context, and just, if you have any other, great analogies in leadership for what that means.
Yeah. So like with our map, our doctrine, we talked about open-handed and close-handed.
Yeah.
Right. And there's doctrine that we're close-handed on. Jesus. He came, he walked this earth, he was crucified, God put him in a tomb, God raised him from the dead, and he's ascended to the right hand of God the Father. That's close-handed.
Yeah.
Right. We're just never going to let go. Open-handed, for our map, our doctrine is end times. How is Jesus going to come back? Right. Open-handed. There's great theologians, a lot smarter than you and I combined, right? That disagree with the end times, right? We're just going to be open-handed.
Yeah.
When we know Jesus is going to come back, close-handed. How he comes back, open-handed, right? So with the mission is just close-handed. The mission of the church is to tell all people about Jesus and help them live out their life reflecting Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And that's the love, live, lead, and leave statements. Right? We're just close-handed on that. That is the mission of the church. It's about Jesus for all people. Okay. Open-handed is our method, right? Unless it's sin, we're not going to sin in our method. But short of that, we're going to do anything to tell people about Jesus. And this is where it gets dangerous in the church and tension arises, right? So many times people want to apply mission to method, method to mission, meaning, and what I mean by that is they just want to talk about method thinking that that's Close-handed. There's a certain way to do church.
Yeah.
And we always go back to, no. let's talk about the why, the mission. Let's be close-handed on that. Let's hold tightly to Jesus. But method, let's have very open hands with that. And that leads to a conversation we have with people that says, our method, it's not the only method. We're not even saying it's the perfect method.
Yeah.
It's our method. It's our method. Other churches that have the same mission, right, have different methods. And that's great for them, right?
Yeah.
We're not the only church, the best church, a perfect church. How many times have you heard me say that?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All the time. Staff meetings, one-on-one, publicly, weekend messages. We're not the only church. We don't even think we're the coolest church, you guys say, right?
Yeah.
But this is how we do church, right? And so alignment just says, we're just looking for people that just aligns with how we do church. And they don't even have to agree with all the things we're doing. I don't agree with all the things we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right on the campus leadership side, there's campus leadership decisions that I'm like, personally, I'm like, I do it a different way.
Yeah.
But guess what? That's your decision, right? As long as it aligns, right? As long as it aligns, or Casey, our North Central campus pastor, right? I would do it differently. But guess what? It's part of our mission. I can get by, all right? It's about Jesus, okay? And that method is within the framework of how we're going to do it, right? So my preference is least of my worries, right? Does our method or what align with our mission? As long as that's happening, right?
Yeah.
We're fine. And so we are pretty laser focused, back on the focus word, on this is our method for now.
Yeah. That's
For
big.
now.
For now. Yeah.
It's going to change.
So do you think with mission being more close-handed, it's easier to have alignment than method? I mean, obviously with method changing, perfect alignment's probably not possible, but.
Yeah. And I think, I like the phrase perfect alignment, right? One of the things, when I was on a church staff, before I was on the executive team, and one of the things we always talked about, and this was really kind of a guardrail for alignment.
Okay.
You don't have to agree with every decision, but you have to support, right? So we would have very robust conversations as an executive team where most of us would disagree, but we'd walk out of the room supporting it 100%.
Yeah.
100%, right? Not that 99.9 where you're like, yeah, I support it until you walk out of the room and then you're telling everyone why you don't support it. That's not it, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking, we would argue and argue and argue, but when the decision was made, we would walk out supporting. I didn't have to agree, but I had to support as a team member.
Yeah.
Like, I'm for that. Now, if I couldn't get to there, or if someone else on the executive team couldn't get to the support stage, we'd keep talking about it.
Yeah.
We're having conversations right now in the season we're in. And my goal isn't for everyone to agree with a final decision, but my goal is for everyone to support where we land. And I don't know where we're going to land yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like how we left our conversation Monday. I don't know how we're going to land.
Yeah.
But what I do know is we took a massive step towards support of a decision that's going to have to be made.
Yeah.
Right? That's the goal. Now, I don't want 100% agreement, right? Because I want different perspectives.
Yeah.
But I do want the 100% support. And that's a choice. That's a choice to say, I can support that, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, in marriage. My wife and I don't agree on every parenting decision,
Yeah.
right?
That's impossible.
Impossible. But what we've worked really hard on, and we're not perfect, but what we've worked really hard on is those decisions, can we support?
Yeah.
If I disagree with a perspective, can I support her perspective if that's where we're going to move forward on, or vice versa, right? And so that's it, right? And so in marriage, not about agreement, it's about support for the decision. Whether I'm leaning one way and Kim decides to support me, or she's leaning one way, I just decide to support her. With our kids, they just know this is the decision mom and dad made.
Yeah.
They don't know I disagree, right? We try not to.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
Not perfection, right?
Yeah.
It's our pursuit. So I think that gets into it. And that's so important on alignment. And so many people feel like if they can't align, they can't support. I'm like, yeah, you can. Or you as a team should fight together, like not fight like bad, but fight through the tension to get to the point where everyone can support the decision.
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal. Yeah. I can support that decision.
Fight the tension, not each other.
Right.
That's what a team does. That's a good marriage tip as well. Like fight, don't fight with each other, against each other. Fight as a team against whatever you're facing. Yeah. I love, as a campus pastor, alignment, coming on staff, like that was something that I tried to understand, to learn, to lead better through coming on as a multi-site church. I know we've talked about it before, but our hope is that no matter where you step foot on a Tri-County location, it feels like Tri-County. We don't want to have all these different places that are, look, feel, even, our method is completely different. We want to have alignment there, but that's not always the easiest place to get to, as a leadership team. One thing I appreciate about you and our conversation on Monday is that you open up that conversation. It wasn't like, hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody, hopefully he's on board with it. It's let's have a conversation, because that's the important thing, is working through the issues, getting people's perspectives. And I think it's actually in the tension that you find alignment, not shying away from it.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And so many people, and I don't know if it's don't like, or they resist, or they're not comfortable, or what it's anchored to, but as soon as tension erupts, they shy away from, right? And we're trying to create a leadership culture, both within staff, but within all of our leaders, to say, no. We just want to embrace tension.
Yeah.
Let's just embrace it. Let's sit in it. Again, it's not personal, right? If it becomes personal, then that's a different issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Different conversation.
Right. But let's just sit in the tension, embrace it, and realize that out of that tension, if we allow it to happen, we're going to get to a better decision, right? We're going to see it from different angles. And Andy Stanley always says, as a leader, you're not the smartest person in the room. You just got to the leadership chair first, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's true. Like I'm not the smartest person in the room, but somehow I think it was rocks, paper, scissors. I got the leadership chair, but right. Like, but what I know is everyone around that conversation on Monday, together, such great insights that will help us all land on a decision that I think will be best for us as a church.
Yeah.
And that's a win.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've heard, just to wrap up this alignment piece, I think it was maybe, a marriage podcast, a marriage book. I don't know where I've got it, somewhere reading or listening, but it's just the thought of two parallel lines, and how, a parallel line can go in the same direction, maybe even arrive at a similar destination. But if you have, two paths that get to the same place, you're not really going together. Like the whole concept of journeying together is being together on the journey. And I think that's one of the things that is really important with alignment within church leadership and, marriage in any context that you can think of. I mean, these are applicable to just everyday life. If you're going to be for alignment, and make sure you're journeying with people, not just going the same way.
And when your heart is to take that journey together, then your preference, your desires starts to really shape, in a different way.
Yeah.
One of the analogies I've given before, my wife loves garage sales. Well, I hate garage sales, but what I discovered is she loves them. Mm-hmm. And the more I want to do what she loves to do, over time, I have started to like garage sales, because I find, I love tools. So I find these tools that are treasures, right? I'm like, I got this clamp, or I got this saw, I got the, right? Like I could go out to my garage right now and walk through the storyline of all of these things. My table saw I bought from a guy, a retired pastor. I bought from him, Bernie.
Oh, that's cool.
And I say retired pastor, he's still pastoring. He doesn't. Yeah. I don't think you retire, right? But I bought a table saw, right, from him, right? I can tell the story, right? And so, I didn't start going, yay, let's go garage sailing, but because my wife loved it and I wanted to do something she loved together, right? Now we went garage sailing together, and now I've started to actually tolerate it.
Tolerate's a good word.
Some days I like it better when I find things. Yeah. When I don't, I tolerate.
Well, it's just a thought. You love your wife, and she loves something, so
yeah, we do it
you
together.
Can do it together because you love her.
Yeah,
yeah. You don't have to love the activity, right. But
and I think that's again the value on team leadership is the more we just go, we want to do this journey together, right?
Yeah,
like we actually want to do this journey together. And so that becomes such a powerful thing, so that when we hit those tension moments, again, it's not tension about a person, it's just tension around a perspective on it, that we actually value. I think about, we come back to this Monday conversation, and I think about what a couple people shared. It was really vulnerable. But it helped shape. And I'm glad they had the courage to share. I'm glad our team received what they shared. We actually paused and prayed for one of the people, just as they shared about their very personal kind of interaction on this decision. We just prayed in the moment, right? It was just a powerful moment. And I just think that's the team that people want to be around.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so powerful. I think showing your hand, but then saying, but whatever decisions made, I support it. That's huge. Yeah. So, okay. So the next part is this concept of an evolving strategy. Obviously, we know that what we're doing right now, we're not going to do forever. That gets us into trouble. This concept that what worked yesterday is not going to work today. I know that, evolving, really transforming, growing, changing, you could, put any of those words in front of strategy. So why don't you just unpack that a little bit? When it comes to our method, I think one of the traps for leaders and one of the traps for, any organization is they want to hold tightly, again, to their method because it's working. But what kind of mindset do you have to get into be constantly changing, constantly adjusting?
Yeah, I said a few moments ago, the vast majority, if not all, but all is a big word, the vast majority of churches would agree on the mission to tell people about Jesus.
Yeah.
They agree about that. But most churches are dying or on the verge of closing. Why? Because of this part of the statement, the evolving, the changing, the morphing strategy.
Yeah.
And they haven't, and I think about, I remember years and years ago, this new online startup company. And I mean, Google was just coming out, and you're like, I'm dating myself, but I remember what's Google, right? Well, you search. Well, what do you search, right? Like now it's like everything, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like we search everything.
Yeah, it's literally a phrase. Google it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what does that mean? And so the startup company was coming on, and they were selling things online. You're like, what are you selling? And they were selling books. I'm like, well, we have libraries. I'd just go to the library, but they were selling books online, right? I vividly remember that. Well, now Amazon is the number one online retailer.
Yeah.
Right. But they didn't stop with books, right?
Yeah.
They started with books. Then they realized, it's so much more. Now, when you think of Amazon, you don't think books, right? When you think of Amazon, it's like, whatever I need, I can buy. I will go to stores with my wife, and before I purchase something, I will use my Amazon app to scan the UPC to see how much money I can save to buy it off Amazon. And I will.
Yeah.
I will stand in the store and buy it.
That's funny.
Right? And my wife's like, just get it. I'm like, it saves me 22 cents. She's like, that's stupid. I'm like, it's 22 cents, right? But I do, right? And so it's amazing to think, right, how Amazon, I like your word pivot, how Amazon realized, right, they weren't a bookseller, they were an online seller, right? And you position Amazon next to another company, Sears. Sears' greatest heyday wasn't their brick and mortar stores, it was their catalog store.
Yeah.
Their catalog. And for some reason, Sears took their eye off. If Sears would have pivoted from their catalog to online,
wow.
Think about the company now.
Yeah, that'd be.
Then you take Walmart. Walmart realized they had to get into the online business, right? And now, right, they have morphed as a company, right, to understand and how they're delivering groceries and curbside pickups. And now they will deliver to your house, and they have an app that you can order everything online, right? Like the companies that realize, right, that they have to have an evolving strategy will thrive. And it's the same thing with the church. And churches have just been stuck in the past. And I'm not talking just decades. I'm talking hundreds of years in the past. They've just been stuck. And so we as a church just want to be a church that says, well, our method is open-handed. Our mission closed, method open. And we're just going to continue to change, to evolve, so that we can tell as many people about Jesus as we possibly can.
Yeah, I think even, the question, the statement, what's working today won't work tomorrow. Maybe the question should be, is what is working today really working today?
No,
Process in the moment, because that's a real pivot, is making a decision not to say, well, in 3 weeks we'll change our strategy if it's still not working. It's to say, no, like right now in this moment, we're going to put a stake in the ground and we're going to move forward in a different direction.
Yeah. We think about the season we're in, with quarantine and COVID-19. And, about 3 years ago, the leadership of the church made the decision to actually start an online campus, not an online viewing platform where you can watch it. No. We're gonna start a campus, where people can interact and people can engage, and we can pray for each other and chat together. And out of that we started online life groups where people around the country were joining together